Getting the kids ready for school. I look out the top window and I see a pile of white in the field. You know, you never see a pile of white. It doesn't work like that. It's not good. So I'm just looking across this field to see what's going on. Come on, distinguished old gentleman. So Roy's just going to scrape these passages and then we'll feed them. Hello. Anything that's too thick or bitty or anything, we don't put it down the slats. Roy takes it straight out. This is just because we know we've got to get it out at the other end, and the midden now is just at the other side of the shed, and it's just as easy to take it around in a bucket. So I'm just going to take the tractor and the Keenan down to the pit and get it full, ready to feed these cows that we've just mucked out. So every day we scrape this passageway next to the feed, and then we take a chunk off the bed as well, and then we straw at night. So we're just filling the feeder. I'll turn the tractor on. Grace just going to get the silage. Teamwork makes the dream work. Oh, I still haven't recovered from my walk, and the cold in my face has actually set in. This is my natural colour, like pallid milk. Utilising the hand warmers again. So I have finally warmed up and don't look like The Walking Dead. So we're just mucking out. These guys, I think you'll agree, this thing here, since coming in, you'll not escape. Since coming in here with the smaller animals, this here has put on a lot of weight and looks a hell of a lot better. It was one of the latest born calves and its mum didn't have a lot of milk. It was always really, really tiny. And I remember when I did move it over into here, someone was like, oh, it looks terrible. Have you checked it for yonis and this, that? Anyway, it's been checked for everything. It's absolutely fine. It just was a very tiny... I entered into a really interesting conversation on Twitter before Roy comes back and with his noisy bobcat. It was about horns on animals. So this vet was asking for opinions on whether vets need to do more and work harder to try and encourage genetic changes in animals to produce more polled animals, basically. Context. So I had commented I'd reposted it on my own and commented saying, I hate horns, I hate dehorning, it's an awful job, etc, etc. I don't see that they serve any purpose whatsoever other than getting animals stuck, hurting each other. It encourages bullying in sheds when you have mismatched animals with horns and without. You get the gist. I don't like horns and I hate dehorning. It's just one of them, it's probably one of the worst jobs that you've got to do on the farm, but you just got to do it. It's one of them things, there's no point in whinging about it. So then this fella comes on. I didn't even realise there was strong opinion about horns and dehorning, and I didn't even think this was a thing. I thought I was just agreeing with the masses, if you will. He then comes on, he has a protected pedigree herd of rare breed longhorn animals. I think you can gather where I'm going with this. And inevitably, these people move in bunches, herds together. So he then tags his other pedigree longhorn, strong opinioned Twitterati, and they all come and they express their opinions of dehorning. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand, fair enough, you've got longhorn cattle, they totally need to have horns. You are set up, you have the facilities to deal with those animals. I don't have the facilities to deal with these animals, and I thought that would be the end of the conversation. No. Dehorning cattle in general is barbaric, and it is mutilation, and we are amputating part of their body. Okay. Nah. So the conversation should have ended there at mutilation, to be honest. I should have gone, do you know what? Your extreme language shows me that you are not going to agree with me about anything. So this conversation carries on whilst I try to defend my normal point of view of not liking horns. And their point of view was very much, horns help digestion. I don't know that, but that's fine. Fair enough, you learn something new every day, but weighing up pros and cons, that is not a pro in my book. And it's definitely not a pro enough to keep horns on an animal, especially when we're dealing with them here. Like, all of these don't have horns. If they did, they'd be throwing their heads around. They know how to use them. Cows are clever, they know how to use them. Anywho, their opinion was we are all in the wrong for not facilitating cows with horns, and we shouldn't dehorn anything. We should leave everything to have horns and change all our systems. So then I tried to go down the dairy route and said, but what about dairy cows? What does it bring to a dairy cow? I don't understand how this would make it easier them having, I said they wouldn't even get in a parlour. Like, they wouldn't get the heads in the feeders if they all had horns. You wouldn't fit as many cows down one side because they'd all be poking each other. It just isn't practical. And they said that's it's human. It's a human's point of view, and we should be facilitating the horns in the dairy industry as well, and robots should be designed to accommodate horns. They then likened it to pulling piglets' teeth out and taking hens' beaks off. Now, the last time I looked, a cow didn't need a horn to eat, and we weren't doing anything of the sort. So the conversation ended there, and I left. I left the room. I turned my phone off. I put it on the side because it was just getting silly. But I didn't realise that was a thing. Twitter's toxic, man. Stay off it. It just seems to be full of, like, do-gooding, I'm better than you types that want to pretend they're environmental when really it's just fashionable. It must be dinner time because all of the sheep are migrating towards the hay. Look at the little cuties. Are you hungry, ladies? Is that tasty, tasty? Look at them all coming down. I do not just love a sheep. I just love them. There is the whisk. Is going away to look at the possibility of some slight modifications. Cryptic clue. Just call me Tom Pemberton. I've got the wrong hat on. So it would be rude to send it away covered in absolute SH1T. So I'm just going to put the wash on, but I need this tractor. So we came to use pressure wash, and the bit of hose that connects the lance to the pressure wash had broken, snapped, just age, wear and tear. So we've just come to Piggers to get a new one, and then we'll wash the whisk off and take it in. Don't want to take it dirty. It's just rude. That is just rude. I don't want to be rude. So I am doing, on the 10th, I'm going to Lamma. And I'm going to Lamma with loads of different people. I'm going with, bear with me, there's a huge list. Ollie's not going. He's going to Germany with the NFU. Too good for us mere mortals. I have to get my Tom Pemberton hat on again. I joke. He's going to Germany, so he can't make it. And so there's going to be Tom Pemberton, Joe Seals, me, Becca Wilson, Gina Samet, Charlie Beatty. If you didn't know her, she wasn't in the last meeting. Globetrotting Farm Girl on Twitter and Instagram. Amazing girl, love her to pieces. I am so grateful that I finally get to meet her, because we have followed each other for years, since the good old days. Like, literally, I have followed her for years. So that's going to be super cool. The morning after the meeting, we're going to go into Lamma and have a look around, me and Joe and everyone. But I'm going to get up early and go and help Charlie feed up. So we're going to do our circle of non-influence feeding up and be perfectly normal. So I'm taking my wellies. So this meeting is about, I could read it off a piece of paper, but it's boring, isn't it? Changing consumer perceptions. It is a bit of a field to fork, what people think goes on, what the public thinks happens, things that are affecting the industry, and the perception of the industry. Obviously, we're really involved in this already, because we affect public perception just by putting ourselves out there. If we do something detrimentally wrong, the public will see it, and people's, perceptions of us will change. And as a consequence, the farming community will get perceived as being different. I mean, look at that BBC programme that came out. Or was it BBC? I can't remember. About it was BBC Panorama, about cows, and there was a dairy farm, booting calves or whatever he did. The whole industry suffered as a consequence of that programme, even though that was just a tiny snapshot of one bad moment on one farm. And that was used as a real stick to batter the industry with, was this down cow and a guy picking it up. It was fairly rough on the hip lifters, to be fair. But I have also had, a cow down. It had a really, really bad calving. Anyway, we lifted this cow with the hook lifters, and to get her out to a field, my God. And it was a case of doing exactly that, or if he'd have held her lower, she would have scabbled all her knees and stuff. So do you know what, it's not even a conversation we should get into, is it? Because you're just not going to win. But that was my take on it, that it was, there were bad moments on a farm, and they were shown to everyone, and it changed the public perception of farmers in general. But actually, when you looked at some of the things that happened, they were for, in the long run, benefit of the animals, although at the time they looked completely brutal. Will I put that in my video, or will I not? That is the question. If I do, you'll know that I grew a pair of balls. So my question is, if you watched this whole entire video, what do you think are the issues regarding public perception and farming? What do you think? Answers in the comments, or if you don't fancy typing an answer, leave me a voice note on Instagram or something, and I will listen to it, and I will take it on board, and I will use the information. I don't think this is right. Roy thinks it's right. It's the wrong bit. But what do I know? Them.
Right, got the wrong bit then, haven't I?
It's on the trailer. We're nearly ready to go. Oh, look what I found.
The other day when we're
That's cool. Ooh, fancy. Look at this. I love it.
so you couldn't like do your sides a bit floor with it, because it's got pits, isn't it?
Yeah, you'd have thought so, like, you could tell.
This is the rubber for our scraper. You know when people are like, oh, look at your tyre scraper. This is the rubber. That tractor's the same as Big Roy's New Holland that you'd see us wandering around next to. It's a 6635 Beast and they're literally identical. Underneath, obviously, they look completely different. That one looks space age with its groovy little cab back. Oh, and look, we're going for a river. Hi, river. Whee! That's about the only wash this car's ever had in how many years?